Greetings everyone, this is Ink and I would like to share some thoughts about factions and naval rank progression within Elite Dangerous. I feel obligatory to say that I am a great Elite Dangerous fan. I love the game, but I am not one of those who will blindly praise the game. This game needs healthy critique, not because I hate the game, on contrary, I am making this critique because I love this game and I want this game to be game of games. Is this possible? I firmly believe it is possible, since I am convinced that of all games on the market, Elite Dangerous has more potential than any other game. Correct me if I am wrong, but I think that Elite Dangerous has, if not the most complex, then one of the most complex faction systems seen in video games today. However, most players do not care about them, just as game doesn't care about players. Before many would jump saying, we don't need some hand-holding game. No, game doesn't have to be hand-holding. Game should have some way of slow introduction to the player while player is playing the game. Even though Skyrim is a single-player game, the way game introduces factions, ability usage, and some initial choices is almost ideal. When player starts playing Elite Dangerous, he finds many different names, and in the next system he finds even more new names. This is also confusing, and those names become just generic names to new players, and player, in most cases, lose interest. This is a shame. Some will say this is the charm of the game. I say this is a nonsense. Game and gamers gain nothing with such attitude, and both are at a loss. While player fail to recognize such complex faction system, game loses player and popularity on the market. Is it so hard to implement initial guides for the player? No. It is possible to add some initial guides for new player and even put a hint about other factions and let player decide which faction he wishes to join or stay neutral. This way player will stay focused and on the right track. Player should not seek explanation elsewhere because the game is not a reason to Google, but to play and enjoy the game. Joining a particular faction should not be some trivial thing, but something very special. Once player joins a faction, he sticks to that faction and becomes enemy for the opposing faction. It is absurd that such galactic superpowers like Federation and Empire have no counter-espionage or any form of national security. If player really wants to be part of both factions, then it should be really hard for him to achieve that. He should be some form of a double spy, playing on the very edge and risking to lose everything. By everything I meant both ranks and becoming exile and hunted from both factions permanently. Now that is the stake worthy of a challenge, engagement, commitment and danger. Missions. Missions are not ideal. However, when it comes to ranking, naval ranking, exploit is a preferable way of ranking up rather than actual playing as intended, completing mission by mission. Note that I said preferable, this means that not everyone are doing it. Imagine such army when recruit is actually bribing certain individuals to get a rank of an admiral. Such army. I think that goal to get the highest rank should be exciting for a player and with each new rank more difficult for a player to continue progression. Many got used to current easy bribing way to get a desired rank, and such suggestion to them would be something totally repulsive. Such players are obviously wrong since they prefer exploit instead of an actual game mechanics. But missions are boring. That is true, they are boring and current missions should not be used for ranking up. Instead, only for the first rank they should be used. After that, standard Navy progression mission should appear. This mission should never be something illogical for an army, like transporting agricultural machines or similar nonsense. If player accepts this mission and succeeds, then player should get often message notification to report himself at a designated location and accept next mission from the contacts tab and not from bulletin board. At first it would be at stations and involving some secret message delivery. As player progress, locations would be in space and more difficult missions ranging from spying, sabotaging planetary installations for those who have horizons, or killing certain groups, and so on. These missions would as a whole create some story leading each player to different places, meeting some, for them, important NPCs, even if they don't have face currently, even losing some of them in a combat, but ultimately these missions should lead to a spectacular battle with many ships when player is about to earn highest rank of an admiral or a king. Do you still find this idea repulsive, or do you still prefer bribing no-name factions, using an exploit and never actually caring about the mission? Those who seek possibility of a double agent working for both Federation and Empire should be given 2 or 3 chances to actually begin this unique adventure, working hard and deceiving both sides. Sometimes in a form of a messenger in a space, sometimes by directly leaking a particular information. For example, deliver it to other side and then other side might generate fake information for the first side and thus fun begins. As time passes by, both sides start to suspect and everything becomes more complicated and actually dangerous. Working for a particular power play faction should also give some benefits to the player regarding his naval rank progression, but not other way around. For example, working for Zachary could trigger many undercover missions for the player, resulting in very special rewards and faster naval rank progression, but only if player actually pledged to his power play faction. Yet primarily, player has his duty to the army. For some, army could ask them to pledge to opposing power play faction as a form of infiltration, for example Archon's power play faction, and generate missions accordingly. What about faction-based missions on the bulletin board? They should have more sense than transporting goods and delivering classified informations, but let us leave that for some other episode where I will talk more about background simulation and home. Have in mind that for these suggestions no new features are required. Instead, for these suggestions it is required only careful adjustment of existing ones. These suggestions are given in such a way to give player more reason to fly and so does not go against main motif of Elite, that player is a pilot. These have been my thoughts on how to progress through naval ranks. Feel free to leave a comment, subscribe and discuss about it on official Frontier forums and or Elite Dangerous subreddit. Thank you for listening.